Hello, good evening. My name is Richard. This is over and over and over again. This is, of course, the Arsenal Women's Show now. It's been a quiet week in the Arsenal women's sense because there was no game last weekend, of course. So we're going to be looking back at the Lionesses qualification games for the Euros, of course, the holders. We look at the two games against Sweden and against Ireland. And, of course, the WSL is back this weekend. Arsenal face strugglers Bristol City at Meadow Park. So we're going to look forward to that game as well. Plus, of course, as always, your questions and your comments as well is going to get us through the show. So let's get cracking. Now, you may have noticed a slight lack of panelists this evening. There's a couple of reasons for that, which we'll come on to very, very shortly. But yes, we're still going to do a show. We've still got some great stuff for you. And why don't we hear one of the absentees, shall we, Andreas, and see what he's got to say for himself, shall we?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, unfortunately, I can't be in the show this Friday as my aunt celebrates her 85th birthday and I have to be there. I hope you understand.
So, Andreas, of course, is busy, but he is flying over to London tomorrow for the game on Sunday. He's going to Meadow Park. So he could have made the show if it wasn't for a birthday, but it's a special birthday, isn't it, for his auntie? So happy birthday to Andreas's aunt for tonight. I hope you are having a great time, whatever it is that you're up to. So Andreas can't be with us. Amar's got to work, unfortunately, so he can't be with us either. But don't worry about that. We're still going to get together a good show for you. I will hold in the fort for you. We've got a comment here from Daily Memes. I don't quite know what you understand by Fiona. I don't know what you're meaning by that. There's like a picture of Shrek, so I don't know whether that means you're Fiona or I'm not really sure. Anyway, good to have you with us. Greg says, evening all. I just gave instructions to the missus not to talk or disturb me till the show's finished. Well, see, that's the right attitude, mate. Absolutely. That's what we should all be doing. That's what all of you should be doing, not being disturbed for the next hour or so, hour and a half. Herman's with us as well. He says, hello, Rich. Hopefully we have a great game. Yeah, hopefully we do, my friend. We'll look ahead to the game, of course, as well on Sunday. It's an important game. Let's not forget, don't think the season's finished just because we won a trophy. No, we've still got top three to get. We've still got a title to chase as well. Who knows? But we'll come on to that a little bit later. But there's only one place we want to start. So we're going to be looking back on the Lionesses, of course, to start with, because a lot of our girls were involved in those games, wasn't they? So let's start with the first game, of course, a week ago today. So, of course, Sweden it was to open the qualification group. Very tough group, isn't it? With England, France, Sweden and the Republic of Ireland. So it was always going to be a tough start, wasn't it? Sweden are a highly ranked side. I think they're second or third in the world, aren't they? And you look at the last few years of tournaments, they're always there or thereabouts, aren't they? Semi-finalists, finalists. They always do well in tournaments. They're a very, very good side with some great players. And it was a sort of game, isn't it? Whenever you start a group qualification stage, the important thing is not to lose your first game, especially at home against one of the biggest rivals that you've got in terms of winning the group. So ultimately, I didn't think a draw was a bad result necessarily. Yes, we wanted to win that game. We were leading in the first half, which we'll come on to in a minute. But yeah, overall, I'm not overly disappointed with a draw because Sweden are a very, very good side. And if we can pick up something in the away game over there, whether it's another draw or a win, then that puts us in a good position, doesn't it? So, yeah, yes, we could have won. We could have won. And we started well, didn't we? I thought the first half we played well. It was a good goal, wasn't it? Lessi getting on the end of that cross from Lauren James, a good header to give us the lead. And at that point, it looked like, yeah, okay, we've had a good start. We can go on and win this game. But in the second half, I do think you've got to give credit to Sweden. I don't think it's a matter of necessarily us dropping our level. Maybe we did slightly, but you have to give Sweden credit. I thought in the second half they really came at us. They showed how good they are. And when you bear in mind, you know, some of the recent games against Sweden, we've done well against them, haven't we? You know, the semi-final of the Euros, that brilliant 4-0 victory. And you know, we maybe they had a little bit of revenge on their mind slightly as well, I think. So I was not surprised that they came back into it. Of course, they got the equaliser. Very similar goal, wasn't it? Their goal to our goal, across from the right-hand side and a header at the far post. Poor defending. Lucy Bronze wasn't great there. I didn't think Mary Earp was brilliant in that situation either. And of course, as we know, almost straight after that, Sweden should have been in front, shouldn't they? You know, Stina, who we obviously love on this channel, as you all know, and she's ran through, hasn't she? 1-on-1, outpaced the England defence. Lotte, as it turned out, on that particular occasion, and she looked odds on to score. She gave Mary Earps the eye, sent her the wrong way. It looked like it was in the bottom corner, but it went a fraction wide of that post, didn't it? Inches in it. And we got a bit of a let off there. And you do feel as though had Sweden scored that goal and gone 2-1 up, they would have won that game. I didn't think we would have come back from that. The momentum of the game had shifted before then, that point anyway, and we never looked like getting back in it. And even towards the end, when it was 1-1, we didn't really look as though we were going to go on and win that game. So I think that was a big let off for us. I thought, you know, there'll be a lot of people, I'm sure, will say, well, that's typical Stina. She misses those chances. Well, yes, she missed that one, and she's missed several for Arsenal. I'm not saying she doesn't miss chances, but she did pretty much everything right, didn't she? The pace she showed, it was a nice, clever finish. It just, she didn't quite get the angle right, did she? And it went past the post. It's unlucky. And luckily for England, because I think we would have lost that game. So for once, I was actually quite pleased that Stina missed a chance like that. Usually when she misses them chances, we're all a bit upset, aren't we? So I was actually okay with that. I was quite pleased she missed. Felt a bit sorry for her, because that's a big moment, isn't it? You know, when you're playing for your country, it was a big moment for her to win a big game for Sweden, and she put it wide. But obviously we were delighted that she missed it. And it was a draw. And I'm not too disappointed with a draw. I thought that was a good result in the circumstances, and probably a fair result. We were the better team in the first half. They were the better team in the second half, and we'll take a draw. I think both teams will be reasonably happy with that, and move on and look for the rest of the group, which is going to be, it's going to be a tough group. We know it is, and we got off to a reasonable start, didn't we? You have to say that. Herman says, I don't have sound. Oh, don't you have sound? Is everyone else can hear okay? I hope I haven't just rabbited on for the last 20 minutes and no one can hear me. Laura says, anyone know how to get in to the Germany Supporters Club? Well, I know someone who might know, Andreas. He's not with us tonight, unfortunately. But Andreas will probably know how to get into the Germany Supporters Club. I'm sure he will, because he's well involved in all that kind of stuff. Darren's with us. What are you doing, Darren? He says, evening, chap. Sorry, he didn't see you at the final. Travis called me. Yeah, to be honest with you, we were slightly later getting to the ground than we intended to. We were still there a good hour and a bit before kickoff. We'd intended to be there a bit earlier, and we was a little bit late. But it was such a great day, wasn't it? It was such a brilliant occasion. And I was just so glad I was there. We met one or two people as well, which was nice. And yeah, it would have been great to have met you, Darren. You know, we would have been good. I'm sure we'll meet again at some stage. I'm sure we will. Greg says, a good game, but bronze cost us the game yet again. Perhaps he should think about retiring. Yeah, I mean, obviously, we'll come on to a retirement that has been announced this week. Yeah, I kind of agree. I thought she was poor in that game, really poor defensively. And I think it's obvious, isn't it? She's past her best, Lucy. But I mean, I love Lucy Bronze. I think she's been a brilliant player, and a great inspiration and role model. But everybody's career comes to an end. And I kind of agree with you. I think maybe perhaps the end of this season, it might be a good time for her to retire from international football. If she still wants to play club football, that's fine. But yeah, I think maybe retire from international football. It's a shame, isn't it? Because a lot of these famous Lionesses that won the Euros, you know, we've lost a couple already to retirement, and it's a shame, but it happens to everyone. And you can't fight the hands of time, unfortunately. And I kind of agree with you. Laura says, is Andreas in the group chat? Might reach out to him. Yeah, he is. I'm sure he is. I'm sure he's certainly on the Facebook group. So if not, join us on the show next Friday, and Andreas will be here, and he may be able to give you more information, because he's normally here. It's just this week he can't make it. So yeah, it's definitely on Facebook, on the Facebook group. But yeah, he'll be here next week. We've got Jib206 says there, I did the Arsenal walk at the country final. Oh, you did the walk, did you? Oh, wow, I bet that was good, wasn't it? We wanted to do that, actually. What we intended to get there a little bit earlier, get into that pub where everyone was meeting in the town centre and do the walk to the ground. But unfortunately, by the time we got there, parked up the car, got to the got to the Walls City Centre, the walk had already happened, so we missed it, which was a bit gutted about actually. But anyway, it didn't spoil the great day, did it? It was a fantastic occasion, a great game. Great to be there and be a part of it, and obviously winning and seeing us lift that trophy at the end made it all worthwhile. But yeah, we a bit disappointed to miss that walk. I bet that was good, was it? And would come under that subway, and that would have been great, wouldn't it? I've seen a video clip of it and stuff. It would look really good. I'm gutted we missed it, but as Darren said, the traffic wasn't great, was it? And there was a few other issues that we had getting out in the first place. So, but yeah, we got in about 2 o'clock, I think, to the ground. So we missed that, unfortunately. But there you go. Let's get Andreas's thoughts, shall we, on the England game against Sweden?
Okay, but here are my thoughts to the Lionesses matches. Yeah, first England versus Sweden 1-1, a draw at Wembley. Yeah, it was a good match, I think. A bit disappointing result. As in my opinion, in a group with France and Sweden, you should win your home matches. So it's not a 1 point, but 2 lost points. Anyway, I think we had the better first half. Fantastic goal from Lessi. Her header for the 1-0, and we should have been up, more than 1-0 at halftime. In the second half, Sweden was, to be honest, at least equal, maybe the better team with the better chances, and yeah, they had the equalizer, and then this unbelievable opportunity for Stina when she showed her pace against her teammate Lotte, and she was in 1-on-1. Versus Mary Earps, and the ball was a few centimeters near the post, so this was really luck for us. Thank you, Stina, for missing this chance. And it's still both teams are in the race for Euro qualification.
Yeah, and I didn't really think it was a bad result, personally. Yes, you're at home and you want to win your home games. Absolutely you do. But I didn't think it was a bad result. Sweden are a very good team. Let's not forget that. They're one of the best teams in the world. So a draw wasn't the end of the world. And, you know, we've certainly suffered worse results, haven't we, in the last couple of years. So I wasn't too disappointed with the result. The second half performance was a worry. The one thing I would say, though, actually, is that... Actually, it wasn't this game, was it? It was the Ireland game. We'll come on to it in a minute, actually. I'll make that point then. Greg says all our girls had good games over the 2 games. Yeah, they did, yeah. I thought Lotte was great against Sweden, actually, yes. Her pace is something that we know she's not overly blessed with, Lotte. She's a great player, we know that. But, yeah, one-on-one in a race, she's probably not going to win too many, is she? Certainly not against a player like Stina, who's very quick. And that was maybe the only thing. But yeah, I thought she had a great game, didn't she, against Sweden again for England. She's looking the part, isn't she? This season, she's been absolutely brilliant. And of course, Lessi got the goal. And that's the sort of position that we want to see Lessi in more when she's playing for Arsenal, because quite often she's not close enough to the goal, is she? She drifts out wide or she's deep and all that kind of stuff, which she's great at doing. But ultimately, we get balls in the box quite a lot. And Lessi's not there. And in the England game, there she was on the end of it to get that header. And that's the only thing I would say, that I'd like to see her do that more for Arsenal, get in those positions more so she can finish off those chances. And you do feel that with the chances we create, she would score a lot more goals if she got into those positions more for Arsenal as well. But so yeah, she had a great game as well, didn't she? I mean, Bev, I'm not sure what's quite going on with Beth at the minute. I don't think her form for Arsenal has been brilliant. I've got to be honest. I'm not blaming her. I think that coming back from that injury, it's just that she came back and she started so well, didn't she? Scored a few goals right at the beginning when she first come back in the team. And I think maybe our expectations for what we were going to see from her was going to maybe grew too high. And I think ultimately the way she's been playing is probably where you would expect a player to be that was out for nearly a year with such a serious injury. And she's not quite hit the heights. Before her injury, I don't think there's any doubt Beth Mead was the best player in the world. She should have got the Ballon d'Or. She should have got every single award going, because I don't think there was a better player than her at that time, you know, when she picked up that injury. So yeah, it's a little bit frustrating that she hasn't. The injury came at the time that it did, and and I think maybe I say at the start when she first came back, I think maybe she started so well that we maybe assumed that she was just going to fly back in and be back to her normal self, and it's been a bit more difficult for her, hasn't it? So yeah, and obviously she came off the bench, didn't she, against Sweden? She did all right, had a chance, didn't she, to score, but. Yeah, I think it's gonna. I think this season, in many ways, the same with Viv. She's probably not going to play again this season. Laura Wainwright is just coming back now. She's not going to really play much, and we'll come on to Leah Williams in a minute as well. I think maybe we've had to write this season off for all of them, and maybe we should have done that at the start. They've played, but there wasn't ever going to probably be at their best, and maybe we expected a little bit too much. So I think that this season has just been a recovery season for them all, and hopefully next season we'll start to see the best of Beth Mead again, which is going to be a massive, massive boost for everybody, isn't it? So let's hope so. But we'll see, won't we, what happens going forward. But yeah, I mean, overall, I was fairly satisfied with the Sweden game. A draw is a draw, and yeah, that's what matters, really, isn't it? It's what it is. Darren says there's a Facebook group, wasn't there? Yeah, there's a few actually. There's a few. There's a WhatsApp group as well for the supporters club. So I mean, I don't know how you get into that. If you maybe send me your number privately, I'll be able to maybe get you into the supporters club WhatsApp group. There's a few different groups going around. Herman said there's a game starting. No, the game's not tonight, my friend. The game's on Sunday. This is just our normal show. Greg says Lessi got player of the match against Sweden. Yeah, she did. Yeah, was she the best player? I don't know. She got the goal. She played all right, didn't she? She had a good game. Laura says quite sick of Jonas playing Alessia as a false nine. Yeah. See, we'll come on to this a bit more when we talk about the Bristol City game. But I actually think that Lessi's best position for Arsenal is going to be more of a number 10 behind Stina. That's for me. That's at the moment, of course, with the situation with Frida, she may well play there on Sunday. We'll come on to that. But yeah, when she plays as the number 9, it is more of a false 9. You're right. And yeah, she's never going to score the required number of goals in that position. But maybe Jonas likes to play her that way because he knows he's got Stina to come off the bench. And get the goals later on in the game, which has happened so often, hasn't it? But I agree. I don't like Lessi playing in that position. She needs to be, when she's there, she needs to be the actual number 9, the centre forward in the box, getting on the end of crosses and stuff like that. When Stina's playing as well, I would drop her a little bit deeper into sort of Viv's position when Viv's not playing, which she's not going to be for the time being anyway. So, but yeah, I don't like her. I'd never like a false 9. I don't like a false 9 if you haven't got a proper 9. It's all right if you've got a proper 9 and maybe a false 9 floating around behind, that's fine. But when you haven't, if your only striker is a false 9, no, I don't like that. I don't like it in the men's game. I don't like it in the women's game. And no, I'm not. I don't like. I agree with you. I don't want to see Lessi playing as a false 9 unless Stina's on the pitch as well, actually as a number 9, and that might be fine. But yeah, but there you go. So that was the Sweden game, which we got a point. We'll take a point, won't we? Because we've got some difficult games to come as well. And of course, following that game, there was an interesting game, wasn't there, in midweek against Republic of Ireland. Now, of course, this game was quite similar, wasn't it? In the sense that we had a really good first half and a not so good second half. And this has been a little bit of a theme for the Lionesses for a little while, hasn't it? I think, we tend to play well in one half only and we're quite average in the other half. It happened in the World Cup quite a bit. It happened in the games leading up to the World Cup. It's happened since the World Cup. And these two games kind of highlighted that a bit more, didn't it? I mean, the Ireland game, it should have been done and dusted by half time, shouldn't it? We got the 2 goals. Lauren James, I know she gets a lot of criticism, sometimes rightly so, but she's a great player. She got a good goal. And, of course, we had the penalty, which Alex Greenwood tucked away. And then, of course, a second penalty. It's always tough, isn't it, when you've just taken a penalty and then you get another one with the same keeper and everything. It's difficult, isn't it? Do you go the same way? Do you try something different? Can the keeper read you? It's difficult to score 2 penalties in the same game, I think. And, of course, I'd have maybe used a different penalty taker for the second one. That would have been my personal opinion. That's what I would have done. But so, she didn't score the second one. And it was 2-0 at half time when it should have been maybe 4 or 5. And in the second half, it got a bit bitty, didn't it? We never really got our flow. But the job was done. We got the win. Obviously, we had to win that game. It was never going to be easy. Of course, we're a much better team than Ireland. We know that. We should be beating them, and we did. But you can see that we're not quite this particular international break, as important as it's been with the Euro qualifiers. We've not been at our best. But we've managed to get 4 points out of 6. And, which is okay. We're 2 points off of France. Of course, we won both their games. And of course, that's our next game, which I'll be going to, actually. Me and Paul are going. It's at St James's Park. We've got our tickets for that one, the 31st of May. Really big game it is, isn't it? If we can beat them, we'll go above them. And that'll put us in a great position in the group, won't it? But the important thing for me about the Ireland game was obviously getting the 3 points. Had to win. We had to win the game. We did. The clean sheet was good as well. Hannah Hampton getting an opportunity in goal. Mary Earps has got that position nailed down. So it's nice that Hannah Hampton, who I think is a very, very good goalkeeper, has had a very good season at Chelsea. I think that she deserved her opportunity to get a game in an important game. And I thought she took her chance. Well, yeah, she wasn't overly exerted. It wasn't like we were under a lot of pressure and she had loads of shots to save, but she did well. A clean sheet is always nice. And of course, the big thing from the Northern Ireland game was the return of Leah Williamson, Captain Leah, to the Lionesses team. First time in a year since she's last played for England. Wow, incredible, really. Of course, she had to pull out of the previous squad. She wasn't quite fit enough, was she, to play against Sweden? But she was back. And yes, I still think she's a bit rusty. Obviously, the same we said about Beth Mead a minute ago. When you've had that long period out of the game, it's very, very difficult to get straight back into your rhythm. You need time. And I think this season, when we was never probably going to see the best of Leah Williamson, we were probably never going to see the best of Beth. We was never going to see the best of Viv. And Laura, we'd be lucky if we even see her on the pitch. She may get minutes in the last few games. But so, yeah, it was great to see Leah back. It's great to see her leading England out. Of course it is. It hasn't felt right without her not being there. So that was great, wasn't it? But yes, she played okay, didn't she? She had a decent enough game, but and it's minutes back in her legs again. And I think that's important because she's looked a bit rusty at times playing for Arsenal. We know the game at Stamford Bridge, for example. She wasn't great in the final in the first half till she had to go off. So it's nice that she got a game under her belt again, and let's hope that she can finish the season well, and it'll hold us in good stead, won't it, going into next season, which we'll talk about obviously when we come on to Sunday's game very shortly. Darren says, I'm in most of the WhatsApp groups now, following over and over on Facebook. No, that's just the group for the channel. There's an Arsenal women's group on Facebook as well. Greg says, great to see Leah back as captain and a great performance. No, I thought she played well. I'm not saying she didn't have a good game. Obviously, we know that she's still not at her best, and I don't think that's not a bad thing to say. I think it's obvious she's not going to be at her best with all the time that she's missed. It was not, but it was. You're right. It was great to see her back leading the team out. To me, it feels right that Leah's a captain, because she is captain, isn't she? So yeah. Laura says, if Mary plays against France, it'll be her 50th cap. Oh, will it? Brilliant. We're at that game, so that'd be nice to be there for that, won't it? That great moment for Mary, who's obviously been a great goalkeeper for England. She's still a great goalkeeper for England, but it's nice that we're able to rest her, play our other goalkeeper, Hannah, who I think is a great goalkeeper, and she came in and did well. And it's, you need options, don't you? You need to have options when it comes to tournaments, and in the past maybe we haven't always had enough options, and now it looks as though we're starting to get some, which is great. Leah Williams in the first half, she hurt her knee again. That's why she came. No, I know, yeah, she got an injury, but I didn't think she didn't look comfortable even before she. You could see at the part of the game. I think it was when she blocked Lauren James cross in the final, where you kind of see she didn't move particularly freely after that. But I even thought before that she didn't look comfortable at all in that game. I didn't think. We were saying during that first half, Leah doesn't look right. She doesn't look comfortable. So I wasn't totally surprised when she came off at half time, because I felt she did have an injury. And I was a little bit surprised that she went with England, because I thought she was going to have to pull out the England squad. So it was great to see her playing for England. And I thought she played okay against Ireland. She did, in the circumstances. She did well. But yeah, she's not at her best. And I don't think that's unsurprising, is it? She was never going to bounce straight back. It's impossible to, isn't it? Anyway, Andreas, of course, watched the Ireland game, and these are his thoughts on that particular game.
The next one was Republic of Ireland versus England, 2-0 for England. So, yeah, once again, I would say we should have scored more goals, especially in first half. It was a good first goal from Lauren James, but then the second one was a penalty, and then another penalty was missed by Alex Greenwood. Second half was a bit sloppy. Ireland had too many good chances created, and we were lucky that Ireland didn't score. Okay, Serena rotated, and she made a few subs, especially in the second half against Ireland. So, yeah, it's okay. We've got now 4 points, but I would say there must be a better performance in July versus France. It will be a very difficult match, and for me, France, together with Spain, one of the strongest teams in Europe. So, and we can't afford to miss other points. We have to qualify, and then we need to win. Okay. Then we got the news that Rachel Daly retired from international football. Yeah, first of all, I would say congratulations, Rach, to a fantastic international career. She's European champion, she's runners-up in World Cup, and maybe she realized that she will never be Serena's first choice as a striker. Rachel Daly, she's 32 now, and I think she wants to concentrate on compete on club level, on club football, and so let's accept this. As I said, great career. Thank you for your service, Rachel Daly, and let's go on. That's it for the Lionesses so far.
Yeah, so as I said, we've lost another one of the Euro heroes, haven't we? Rachel Daly this week announced her retirement from international football, and I think Andreas is right. She was probably never going to get the first choice striking position ahead of Lessi, which I know we're all delighted about, but obviously Rachel probably felt she maybe deserved more game time there. She was top scorer in the WSL last season, let's remember, and she's been scoring some goals this season as well. She's a great player. Of course, she was the left back for England in that Euros, wasn't she? Very versatile. A great character to have around as well, wasn't she? Always a lot of fun. And I'm sure the girls in the change room are going to miss her personality, aren't they, as well? So, yeah, it's a shame, isn't it, when one of the players who's contributed so much to the team has decided to retire. But we said the same with Lucy Bronze. Everything has to come to an end. And, if Rach wants to concentrate on her club career over the next couple of years, and that's good for her, you know what I mean? And I do feel a little bit, though, that we don't have a lot of centre-forward options, do we, at this moment in time? If you take Lessi out of the team, who else can play there, really, now? Obviously, Rachel Daly was the obvious replacement. But who would play there now? We don't seem to have a lot of other options there at the moment, do we? When you think in the Euros, we had Ellen White as well. Of course, she's retired as well. And there doesn't seem to be too many knocking on the door, is there? England strikers that are there. Ebony Salmon's been a little bit hit and miss, although I think she's a good player. She's not really an out-and-out centre forward, is she, actually? So, you can maybe not see her in that position. But we don't seem to have a lot of options there, do we? And I do think that's a position where we need to look at here. Lauren James has played there, of course. She scores goals. She can probably play there as well. Beth can play as a centre forward, where she started her career. But I don't know. I do feel that's a little bit of a concern, and I'm surprised maybe that Rachel's announced that now in that circumstance, rather than maybe leaving it until after the Euros next year. But anyway, she's made her choice. We have to respect it. And as Andreas said, good luck for Rach. And thanks for all you've contributed to the Lionesses over the years. You've been a brilliant player. And I say a great personality as well. We've kind of had a lot of fun, haven't we, watching a lot of your videos and stuff that you've done. So enjoy your club football now for the rest of your career. And thanks for all you've done. Rachel Daly has gone, which is a real shame, isn't it? Greg says, I think Hampton is a better goalkeeper than Earps this season. I kind of agree with you. I mean, Mary Earps is great. Don't get me wrong. I'm not going to criticise her, but I do feel as though there's been a lot more hype around Mary Earps and maybe she's deserved. She's a good goalkeeper. Obviously, she won us the Euros again. A bit like Rachel Daly, she's got a bit of a really good personality that's engaging and she's fun and all that kind of stuff. And she's a very good goalkeeper. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. I think maybe she's been a little bit overhyped. I don't think she's quite as good as the hype has led everyone to believe she is. She's a good goalkeeper. She's a very good goalkeeper, but I'm not quite sure that she's quite as good as the hype has suggested. And I agree. I think this season it's not been her best season. I think that's fair enough to say. I don't think, for England or for Manchester United. And is that because she's a little bit unsettled and maybe the talk of moving to Arsenal and stuff like that, is that affected her form a little bit? I don't think she's been as good this season. No, I agree. And Hannah Hampton's been great. So, yeah. But I think going forward, Mary Earps is going to be the number one for most of this Euros campaign. And obviously, if we qualify into the finals as well. So I think that's the way it is. But no, I kind of agree. I think Hampton's had a really good season, Hannah Hampton. I've always rated her. I think she's a very good goalkeeper. And we don't have a problem in that position, do we? Because if Mary Earps doesn't play or Mary Earps is injured or whatever it is, or Serena decides to change the team, we know Hannah Hampton can come in and it's not dropping a level too much, is it? In fact, it's probably not dropping level at all. Hannah Hampton's a very, very good goalkeeper. So, yeah, it's good that we've got two top goalkeepers, isn't it? But, yeah, I kind of agree. I don't think Mary Earps has been great this season. And maybe the hype, whatever it is, maybe that's just got too much. I don't know. But yeah, obviously, as Laura mentioned before, it's going to be her 50th game next time she plays. So, she fully deserves that. Don't get me wrong. And I say she's very, very good goalkeeper. But yeah, I thought Hannah Hampton deserved her chance and took it well. And should Hannah Hampton play in that France game, I don't think anyone would be surprised necessarily and think, well, she doesn't deserve to play because she's done nothing wrong. She's been good for Chelsea. And yeah, she played well in that game. So, well done, Hannah Hampton. The other thing I did want to mention was actually the Ireland game was on Tuesday evening, wasn't it? And if you remember, on Tuesday evening there was Champions League was on. Arsenal obviously played against Bayern Munich, as we know, and Man City played against Real Madrid. So two really big games, and the TV audience was at the England Lionesses against Ireland actually had more people watching on the TV than the two Champions League quarter-final games combined. Now, yes, you could say that obviously the Lionesses game was on terrestrial TV and the others wasn't. But even so, it's quite an impressive figure, isn't it? That the interest in the women's game is so high and has become so high. A lot of people still criticise women's football, don't they? There's one particular ex-Premier League player on Twitter in particular who spends most of his life criticising women's football and trying to bring women's football down. And I think it's obvious, isn't it, that the public out there have realised what we've been saying, what I've been saying for years, that women's football is a very, very exciting game. And in some ways, it's more exciting than men's football. It's different and it's not as fast. Obviously, it's not as physical necessarily. It is in its own way, but obviously it's not as physical. But it's all the better for it, I think, as well. So it's good that the audience is growing. The crowds in the stadium are growing. It was 60-odd thousand, wasn't it, at Wembley for the Sweden game. We know how well we're selling our games at the Emirates and everywhere else that we go. So it's good that women's football is finally getting recognised for what it is. And despite those people out there that want to criticise it, it's proving, women's football is proving time and time again how great it is and what a great spectacle it is and how brilliant it is to be a part of, to be involved in, whether you're at the game as a fan, to watch it on the TV, whatever you're doing, however you're involved in women's football, it's great, isn't it? That, the growth has been incredible and it's fantastic. Laura says it was easier for me to watch the men's game outside of the UK than the women's international game, but I found a way. It just shows that people... Exactly, yeah, it does. This is the point, isn't it? I mean, I watched the men's game on Tuesday live. I watched the Lionesses game back afterwards later on. That was a choice we had to make when they play them at the same time. We've said this before, haven't we? That, when men's football and women's football, particularly when it's the club teams, when Arsenal men and Arsenal women, we're going to come on to that on Sunday, playing on the same day, and sometimes at the same time, the Continental Cup final, another example. And I think that we're going to we're going into a new era, aren't we, in the WSL with this new code taking over, and it's going to be interesting, isn't it, to see how that kind of works in terms of the fixture, looking at the way the fixtures are put together, because I think the men's and the women's teams from all clubs shouldn't play on the same day. They should be separate so people can watch both, whether you're going to physically go to the games or whether you're going to watch them on telly, whatever you're doing. They can't be played at a time where it's going to make it difficult to watch both games, because I think there's fans now, you can see, can't you? There's the more and more people that are coming to watch women's football, that are interested in women's football, are people that's come over from the men's game. Some still watch both. I still watch both, and I know lots of people do. And they can't alienate those people by putting the games on together and making you have to choose. You know, Amar had to make that decision, didn't he, like the other week when the Conti final was on, to watch the Continental Cup final or come to the game or watch the men's game against Manchester City. In the end, he chose the men's game over the final, which I know he probably maybe regrets that a little bit now, but you don't know that at the time, do you? Because you don't know what's going to happen. But even so, that for me was an easier choice, to be at the final. Of course, I was never going to miss that. But there are times when you want to be able to watch all the games, both the games, the men and the women. This season hasn't been quite as bad. The last couple of seasons, there's been sometimes when they've played at the same time. You know, maybe kickoffs half an hour apart or an hour apart. Ridiculous. So yes, we need to look at that going forward. This season has been better, but recently we've had a couple of clashes, and say the Lionesses game clashing with the Champions League wasn't great planning, was it, from anybody? That shouldn't really be. You shouldn't have to choose, should you, what game you want to watch. You should be able to watch all the games that you're interested in. I know it's not always going to work like that, but as much as you can, that should be, especially when it comes to men and women's football. They want to promote women's football, right? And they've done a great job for the most part. But you have to look at it and think, okay, if we want to get more people that generally watch men's football to watch women's football, we've got to make sure they're not going to have to pick men's football, because most people will still pick men's football. Let's be honest, they would, given a choice. I did on Tuesday. I hold my hands up. I watched the Champions League game against Bayern Munich. And I watched the Lionesses afterwards. But they have to realise that people shouldn't have to make those choices. The game should be available at different times, because men and women's football do have a lot of the same fans, and they need to realise that. And hopefully, going forward, the new code that's taken over will realise that. We're hearing about some new TV deals, which could be good or could be bad. We don't know yet. We'll have to see how they pan out with kickoff times and whatnot. But yeah, I personally think they need to look at that and try to make sure that the men's and women's teams from each club don't play on the same days, and certainly not at the same times. They separate them to make it available to everyone who wants to watch them, because that's the way it's going to grow, isn't it? We need more people that generally watch the men's game to come watch women's game, and that's how it's going to grow and be sustainable, because they're the people that come to football. They've come to football for years. You know, I watched the men's team. I had a season ticket at Highbury for like 25 years, whatever it was. And I've come more over to the women's game in recent years, just because I've not really liked what's happening in the men's game, the way it's gone. And I'm hoping that the women's game doesn't follow the same path. But for the time being, a lot of people have done the same. I've still got a massive interest in the men's team, of course. You know, I'll never stop having interest in it in the same way. But, you know, we shouldn't have to choose, should we? And that's hopefully going forward, we won't have to. And that's what I'm hoping. Greg says there, the women's game is better than the men's and more exciting at the moment. It is. No, I totally agree with you. I mean, we talked about being overhyped a little while ago. I think men's football, modern men's football now, is overhyped, and it's nowhere near as good as people say it is. I think the Premier League overall isn't great. Yes, you do get some great games. We saw a few last weekend, didn't we? A couple of 4-3s, whatever it was, and you do get great games. But I don't know. I think there's too much money. There's too much corruption. It seems VAR has just been a disaster. It's going to come in a women's game, unfortunately. But anyway, and there's just too much not to like. There's too much not to like. And, you know, and I know women's football does it as well, but it seems like watching men's football these days, or watching any football these days, it's almost like a political, like a political broadcast. It's not good. You know, people want football to be an escape from the stresses and strains of life, and to forget about all the other things going on in the world for a couple of hours, to watch your team play. and you don't want political messages rammed down your throat. I don't think so. I certainly don't. And that's kind of turned me against the men's game. Certainly, I mean, I've not been to many men's games since lockdown, to be honest, because I've not enjoyed the way it's carried on, to be honest with you, and it's getting worse and worse. But yeah, I don't want political messages rammed down my throat when I'm at football. I don't mind them in the rest of life, you know, on the news, on the telly, whatever it is, fine. You know, political messages are important, but not entertainment places. And football sport is entertainment, or it should be. So, and women's football does it as well, probably more so in a way, but it's on a smaller scale still, and maybe I can almost get away with it. But with a men's game, it's such a big audience that they shouldn't be doing that. It's too influential, and they shouldn't be trying to influence people politically, because that's not what football's about. It's not what sport's about, is it? Sport's about sport and your team and getting behind your team, not all these other political agendas that they throw at it, isn't it? But anyway, Laura says, I fly in quite a lot for the women's games, but mainly when they play at the Emirates, as Meadow Park tends to be a bit more difficult for me. I love it every time. Yeah, exactly. I agree with you there. I love Meadow Park, actually. It's a great little venue, but Arsenal have kind of, in the last 2 years, have outgrown it, really. You know, it's difficult to get tickets now, unless you're a season ticket holder. It's more difficult to get tickets for Meadow Park. Yeah, the Emirates is still, we're selling the tickets out, but it's easier to get them, isn't it? You know, they're on sale for quite a while. The atmosphere is brilliant, isn't it? Women's football, the atmosphere inside the stadium is fantastic. And I was thinking this actually at the Continental Cup final last week. You know, when you're, everything about it is a lot more, I suppose, civilized, I would call it. The crowd that watch women's football, at men's football, you know, it's still, although it's changed, although the demographic of even men's football fans has changed, it's still quite male dominated. It's still quite working class in a way, in terms of the attitude of people, and it's still got that kind of coreness to it, rawness maybe, as a fan going to the games, right? And you've still got that kind of edgy atmosphere, which is fine. And I'm not necessarily saying that's a bad thing. I quite enjoy that. I grew up with it in the 1970s and 1980s. But women's football is so much more sophisticated. The people that go, and the atmosphere there and everything about it is just a lot more sophisticated. And maybe as I've got older, I've kind of just enjoyed that more. Maybe that's what it is partly. I don't know. But it's definitely much more enjoyable. It's a much more enjoyable experience, from before the games, in the pubs before the games, to being in the stadium, the atmosphere in the grounds, everything. It's just more, I find it more enjoyable than the men. I think the men's games are too tense. The atmosphere is too intense. And when I was younger, I enjoyed that, but maybe not so much now. We all like a scream and a shout once in a while, don't we? And it's nice to sometimes do that as well. But yeah, I did notice that quite a lot, that watching women's football is a lot more sophisticated, maybe is the word. I don't know, but that's what it feels like. And I enjoy that personally. I think it's better. Greg says, I watched the women's game and listened to you for the men's game. Get the best of both worlds. Well, I mean, there you go. I mean, that's the way to do it, isn't it? I suppose. I did spot I couldn't watch the Lionesses game, but I did catch it up obviously after. Greg says they shouldn't play women's internationals the same day as men's games. No, they shouldn't. Absolutely not. That's what I mean. The scheduling of women's football going forward with this new co and everything else, they need to look at that scheduling, don't they? And say, look, men's football is, don't try and take the audience away from men's football to watch women's football, because that's never going to work. It's a matter of making sure that people that do follow men's football have also got the opportunity to watch women's football. That's how it's going to grow, because they have come across already. You know, I don't want that atmosphere that I just spoke about to change too much, but we need more fans of men's football traditionally to come across and watch the women. Now, what I've noticed is, you guys have probably noticed it as well, that at the men's games now, as I said before, the demographic of the crowd has changed. There's a lot more women come and watch Premier League football now, not just Arsenal. Everybody. You look in an average Premier League stadium now. When you see the crowd, when the camera goes through the crowd, and that, there's a lot more women in the crowd. There's a lot more children in the crowd than there ever used to be. It's probably the most. It will be the most ever. I don't know exactly what the numbers are, but you can just see with your own eyes that there's more women and children that watch the Premier League football now than they've ever done before, right? And some of those women that come to watch the Arsenal men's team are not interested in watching the women's team. I find that a little bit strange, because you think that women want to promote their own kind of, especially when there's so much criticism of women's football. But that's the kind of demographic of people that I think women's football need to be looking at, and try to get a lot more of those, especially the younger women that are watching the Premier League. I'm not saying don't watch the Premier League. Of course, you enjoy it. Brilliant. Still go. Fantastic. You know, it's nothing wrong with that. But try and get some of them to come across to watch women's football as well. I know some do. Some definitely do. But if we can find a way to get more of them women to be interested in the women's team and come and watch the women's team more, I think, one, it will boost the atmosphere, it will boost the crowds, it will boost the interest. And I think that's the way forward. It's not necessarily like male fans of men's football necessarily. Yeah, obviously a lot of them are coming across as well, and that's great. But I think there's a lot of female football fans that only seem to follow the men's game, when we could do with getting them across, couldn't we, to support the women's team as well? Wouldn't that be great? But anyway, you know, that's just the way, isn't it? Nuances of Fate says, to be fair, that's still an anomaly. Not all women's stadiums are as full as ours. No, absolutely not. No, you're right. And they're not. And obviously, I tend to only generally watch the Arsenal women. And even when we're away from home, you know, you still... the stadiums are generally full because Arsenal fans have travelled and gone there, haven't they? So the Arsenal games always look full. But you say that, I mean, you know, some of you guys might not know, I know some of you do. I now live in Newcastle, and Newcastle United have invested a lot in the club, obviously, since the takeover that they had. And they've invested a lot in their women's team. Now, I've been to watch their women's team a couple of times at St James's Park. And this is third tier women's football. It's like, it's not the top level, it's third tier. And you know, they get over 20,000 at St James's Park every time they play there, you know. So it's not just Arsenal. I think there is an interest for women's football. And you know, Newcastle are about to get promoted to the Championship. Newcastle women, they're about to win the league at the weekend, and they'll be in the Championship next season, one tier below the WSL. And if Newcastle were to eventually get in the WSL, which I'm sure they will, because they're investing in the team, they're full time and all this kind of stuff, right? You're going to see Newcastle playing a lot of their women's games at St James's Park in the WSL, and there'll be big crowds. There'll be 35,000 there easily. There will. And there is, I think it's not just Arsenal that can fill a stadium. I think other teams will start to be able to do it a lot more, the bigger stadiums. At the moment, Arsenal lead the way by a mile. Of course we do. Look at the average crowds that we've had. Look at the Emirates Stadium. We've got one more game, haven't we, next weekend against Leicester at the Emirates. It's going to, will that one sell out? Maybe not sell out, but it's going to be a big crowd, right? And I do think that we're going to start to see more and more clubs getting to those sort of levels at the bigger grounds. It's not going to happen overnight, and it hasn't happened overnight for Arsenal. It's been a gradual process, hasn't it, over the last couple of years. And Arsenal have done this really, really well. I've criticised the club for a lot of things over the last few years, the way they've conducted lots of different things. But I can only give them massive credit for the way they've dealt with promoting the women's team and getting these Emirates sellouts. It's amazing. It's incredible, actually. And the club deserve a lot of credit for that. But it's starting to move away from just Arsenal. It's to do with other clubs as well now are doing the same. And they're starting to promote it more. They're starting to use the bigger stadiums more. They're starting to get bigger crowds in. And that's the way forward. And we just need to find a way, don't we, to get a few more fans over from the men's game. Not just at Arsenal. I mean, some of these other clubs that we're talking about, Man City, Man United, you know, West Ham, all these clubs in the WSL that have got a Premier League club. Get some of those fans that go to watch the Premier League game, get more of them to come and watch the women's game, because they'll enjoy it. I think the problem can be people have got this misconception maybe a little bit of women's football not being as exciting or not being as good quality. I think technically, in terms of the technical quality of the players, I don't think there's a lot different. The only difference is the men's players are faster and stronger, because that's the male anatomy as opposed to the female anatomy. That's just biology, isn't it? I know we're not allowed to talk about biology these days because that's not what's allowed, but biology means that men generally are stronger and faster and whatever than women are. And that's the only difference, really. I think the technical skills that are generally up there. The top women's players are as skillful technically as a lot of the Premier League players for the men. Absolutely, they are. It's just when it comes to the speed and stuff like that, you know, and the physicality of the game is different. And I think if you can come to it with a little bit of an open mind and just accept that's what it is, you can't help but enjoy it, women's football, because it's brilliant. It really is. It's fantastic. I say I don't just watch the WSL. I watch third tier women's football, Newcastle and other places. So, you know, it's the same that when I've watched Newcastle women, it is third tier, right? And you look at the game and it's slower than the WSL. So, of course, compared to the Premier League, it looks like walking football. Some people would say that, but it doesn't make it any less enjoyable. As long as you're going there knowing that's what you're going to see, you're not going to see these big, strong physical athletes that can sprint across the pitch in seconds. That's not what you're going to see. You're going to see some great technical footballers who are giving every single thing that they've got and producing a really great, entertaining product that isn't full of corruption, isn't full of cheating, isn't full of time wasting. You don't see all those things. Players don't roll around pretending to be injured in the women's football, any level. They don't do it. They don't wave pretend yellow cards. Most of them don't. Lauren James might do, but most of they're not waving pretend yellow cards around. You don't get all that nonsense in the Premier League. And so far, there's no VAR, which makes it even better. So what's there not to like? I can't understand it, and I can't understand the criticism women's football get. I understand it. There's going to be people that won't like it, of course, and that's fine. We don't have to like everything, do we? Nobody does. We've all got our own different things that we like and we don't like, and that's fine. But there's a lot of people that watch Premier League football that maybe haven't really opened their eyes to women's football at all, and if they did, they'd enjoy it, and they'd come along and watch games. They would. I know for a fact they would. It's happened to me. It's happened to loads of people. You've just got to give it that chance, haven't you? And we need to find a way to get those people, particularly the female fans. That should be the target. Get them to come along as well and enjoy it and be part of it, because it's fantastic, and that's what I want to see happening over the next few years, and that's how we're going to sustain it, I think. Greg says, still the best atmosphere at Highbury. I still think the atmosphere at Highbury was the best ever. Yeah, absolutely. Of course it was. And that's another thing as well. I mean, I gave up my season ticket when we moved from Highbury. I moved up north a few years later. So, yeah, it all changed for me. Obviously, I grew up with Highbury. It was one of the reasons why I supported Arsenal in the first place, because of Highbury. So, yeah, nothing will ever match that. Nothing will ever beat that. Of course it won't. We've all got to accept that times have moved on, and the Emirates is our home. It's been our home for a long time, and that's fine. And, you know, the atmosphere this season and last couple of seasons has been better at Emirates. But, yeah, nothing will ever top Highbury. Absolutely nothing will. You know, if Arsenal were to win the Premier League this season, as great as it will be, and it will be great, it still won't quite match doing it at Highbury, will it? It just won't. Not for people of our age. Some younger fans would never have experienced it at Highbury, so they wouldn't know. But yeah, I'll always miss Highbury forever. I'll never get over that. I don't think any of us will. It was my home, well, second home, I suppose, for about 22 years of my life, whatever it was, from when I first started going to when we moved out. So, yeah. It will never be replaced. Greg says Newcastle always been a great supporting club. Yeah, they have, and I think it helps being a one club, a one sort of city club. Really, you know, London's got so many other clubs that it's more difficult, isn't it? Whereas Newcastle, it's a big city with one football club in it. So of course, everyone in Newcastle, well, not everyone, because obviously not me, but everyone that's grew up in Newcastle supports Newcastle. Everybody does. You know, you everyone in the shops, in the street, everywhere, work, everybody supports Newcastle, follows the team, and that's one of the things I like about living here, is the fact it's such a football place. Everybody loves football, and it's great. You know, when you're a football fan and you live in a place where everyone loves football. In London, there's so many other things that people are interested in, that football isn't the priority for most people in London. You could look at the population of London, whereas in Newcastle, virtually everybody cares about the team. When the team's doing well, the city's amazing. It's an amazing place to be. And if Newcastle ever won a trophy, wow, there'll be a party here for bloody months probably. But the women are about to win the league on this weekend, so I'm sure that'll be good. But yeah, no, you're right. It's a big supported club, and there's a lot of big clubs in England that have got women's teams that could easily get the same support with the right marketing and stuff like that, with the right promotion of it, and there may be the right investment as well. You need investment. You need your team to be doing well. You need the team to be winning games, don't you? Sunderland could get promoted to the WSL this season. Now they're the top of the Championship. They've been in the WSL before, of course, but they've never quite had that support. They still play at a small ground. They're probably not going to play at a stadium a lot much, even if they got promoted. It's going to be interesting to see what difference that makes. They don't get massive crowds, Sunderland, and yet they could be in the WSL next season. Newcastle are going to overtake them quite quickly, I think, in terms of support. Well, definitely by support already. So, yeah, it's good. Greg says, I watch as many games as possible on FA Player and really enjoy it all levels. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's all available, isn't it? At the moment, I think things are going to change. I don't think it's going to be freely available for much longer because money is going to take over. But yeah, I suggest to anyone to go out, even if it's just your local women's team, right? Whatever level they play at, go and watch them. Just go. It'll be cheap. It might even be free to get in for some of them. I'm sure it will be free to get in. And go and watch them and see what you think. And you'll enjoy it. You will enjoy it, honestly. Trust me, you will enjoy it. It's great. It's football, and it's different type of football to the men's game. If that's all you've ever watched, it's a different type of football. But honestly, you'll enjoy it. Absolutely, you will. Anyway, this is, of course, the Arsenal show. And although we've talked a bit about Arsenal, of course, as well, we do have a game on Sunday. It's exciting, isn't it, to be back in WSL action? Our first game since that final. So it's coming back down to earth a little bit. So let's have a little look ahead to Sunday's big game. So yeah, Bristol City, of course, promoted at the end of last season. Back in the WSL, of course, they used to be a pretty successful club, didn't they, Bristol? And they're back in the WSL. Yes, they're bottom of the league. They're fighting to stay up, and you can see the issues that there is in terms of teams coming up from the Championship, struggling and coming back down again. It's happened a lot, hasn't it, in recent years? And Bristol have given us. We played them twice this season. Once at Meadow Park in the Continental Cup, and away, of course, at Ashton Gate, where we struggled a little bit. Didn't we? We won the game 2-1 with those two great goals from Katie McCabe. But they gave us a lot of problems, Bristol, didn't they? They got the equaliser, and it was a difficult game for us. Yes, it was early in the season when we were still finding our rhythm a little bit. But even the Continental Cup game at Meadow Park, we were 2-0 up, looked comfortable. They pulled a goal back, and it was a bit nervy, wasn't it? And it wasn't until Stina scored in a 94th minute, whatever it was, that we sealed that victory. So I'm not necessarily expecting a massively different game on Sunday to the game that we've played against them already. They're going to be competitive, even at the bottom of the league. They'll be competitive. They'll be, they're going to get everyone behind the ball. They're going to deny us space. They're going to make it difficult for us. Of course they are. We know that because that's what most teams do against us. And you can't blame Bristol City for doing that, because if they just open themselves up and try to play football against us, we'll beat them 5, 6, 7, 8-0, as we've done before. Do you remember the 11-1 against Bristol City, wasn't it? A few years ago. I remember that game. That was the one when Viv scored about 6 goals, wasn't it? So they're not going to do that, because that's what happened to them. So they're going to get everyone behind the ball. They're going to shut the spaces down, and it's going to be the onus is on us to be patient on Sunday, unless we happen to get an early goal, I suppose. But even then, we've struggled, haven't we, to kill teams off. And what I'm hoping is on Sunday that if we do get that early goal, we can go on and get 2 or 3 before half time, get the game killed off, and then we can relax in the second half and play some football, and maybe we'll see a few more goals as well. But obviously, the important thing is winning the game. I think that we're not out of the league title yet. We're not. Despite looking at the league table, we're 6 points off. Of course, we know that there's not many games left. Are Chelsea going to lose twice? Are Man City going to lose twice? Are we going to win all our games? We've got to play Man City away still, of course. Probably not. Let's be honest. We're probably not going to win the league. But we need to make sure we finish third, qualify for the Champions League again. We have to do that. That's the minimum requirement for any Arsenal manager, any Arsenal team. And we're looking on course for that, but we still have to keep winning. We can't afford to take it easy. We've got to keep getting the 3 points on the board. And all I want to see us do is just win every game. And if we end up third, it won't be because of the last few games, will it? It'll be because of those silly games that we dropped points in, the West Ham game, the Tottenham game. We know at Liverpool. So, we just need to win all our games and finish as high as we can in the league and see where we are. But the minimum's got to be third. Any higher than that will be great. Any lower than that's not acceptable, even despite winning the cup in the way that we did. So it's a big game. They're all important games now. We can't afford to rest on our laurels. We've got to win on Sunday, and we've got to win all the other games. Now, it's not going to be easy, and I think Bristol City are going to come with a plan to try and disrupt our play. Silly little fouls. They're quite a physical team. Obviously, they lack the quality in the WSL overall. That's why they're bottom of the league. But it's a game, obviously, we'll be massive favourites to win. We have to win, quite honestly. If you don't beat Bristol City at home, then you don't really deserve an awful lot from the season, do you? Let's be honest. And I think as well, we've just won the cup final. everybody gave so much in that 125 minutes in that game. Every single player that played, all the starting 11, the subs that came on, everybody gave everything in that game. And sometimes it's difficult, isn't it, when you've won a trophy, the euphoria, the celebration. Just as an international break, they've all played football since. But then coming back to Arsenal, and I do feel it's a little bit after the Lord Mayor's show. We've seen it happen a few times in the past when the team's won a trophy. Sometimes it's difficult to raise yourself again. It's almost like you feel a job's done. And our job isn't done. Not yet. It's not. We've still got games to play. We've still got to win as many games as we can. So I think sometimes it's a difficult game, isn't it? The one after the cup final that you've won, especially in the way that we won it, and the emotion that was involved in that would have been very draining for the players. Yeah, maybe it was lucky we didn't have a game the following week, and they've had the internationals to maybe travel around and get that out of their system a little bit. But it's going to be interesting to see how we do respond to that. Obviously, the crowd are going to be buzzing, aren't they? I'm sure we'll bring a trophy out at some stage as well. Hopefully, maybe after the game. Don't make it a distraction beforehand. But yeah, I mean, obviously, it's a game that that we should win. But it's not. It's never easy, is it? None of these games are easy anymore. It's not like it used to be. Greg says they'll shut up shop. We'll only win 4-0. No, they will shut up shop. You're absolutely right. And yeah, we could and should win something like 4-0. We'll come on to a score prediction in a bit. But let's get some thoughts from Andreas on the game, the Bristol City game that he's going to. He'll be there at Meadow Park.
So WSL continues on Sunday late evening. We're playing on the lights at Meadow Park against Bristol, and I'll be there. Yes. Looking forward to be back at Meadow Park. What do I expect? Nothing else but a win, a decent win, because Bristol is bottom of the table. So yeah, and in our situation, we have to secure the third place. So we need to win our home matches, and of course we should win all outstanding matches. Maybe the one at City will be difficult, but the home matches at least must be wins for us. But never underestimate a team, especially with the problems we have through all the season against teams with a low block. And of course, Bristol will play a low block at Meadow Park. For them, a draw would be fantastic, and winning away at Arsenal for Bristol would be like winning the Conti Cup for us. So we can't expect that they make an open match. And don't forget, we won only 2-1 away at Bristol in the first half of the season, with a lot of problems. And in Conti Cup group stage, only 3-1 at home. And the third goal was in 95th minute, so it was also a close and tight match, and that's what we should expect. An opponent who is trying to defend good and who will do everything to take away 1 point. So let's concentrate and let's try our best.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, it's gonna be that sort of a game, isn't it? And unless we can get the job done early, it could be quite a tense. And I think we're all going to need patience, not just the team. I think the fans are going to need patience as well, because it's a game. Obviously, we're favourites to win. We should win, but these are the games sometimes that don't always work like that. Bristol City are fighting for their life. They want to stay in the WSL. They want another season at this level, don't they? So they're going to give everything in every single game they've got left. So we certainly can't take them lightly just because they're bottom of the league. So yeah, it's going to be difficult, isn't it? So what are we thinking about the team lineup then? Obviously, we've got a fairly fit squad, haven't we now? We don't seem to have too many injuries coming back from the internationals I'm aware of. So what are we looking at for the team now? For me, I would go with Zinsberger in goal. She had a great game in the final. I think she's done okay in the last few weeks, actually. So I would definitely start her. I think the back four at the minute pretty much picks itself, doesn't it? Emily Fox obviously is going to be right back. What a player she is, by the way. I think Lotte and Leah, now Leah looks fit has played for England. There's no reason to suggest she's not fit. So I think Lotte and Leah at the back, and then left back. I mean, it's a straight choice often, isn't it, between Katie McCabe and Steph Catley. You do feel as though if Katie McCabe doesn't play left back, he'll fit her into the team somewhere else, probably on the right hand side. But it's a difficult one because I think they're both very good left backs in a different way. I think they've got different strengths and weaknesses. Maybe Steph Catley in this game, perhaps at left back, I would maybe go with. I think the two midfield are obviously going to be Kim Little and Vicky Pelova. Well, what a game Vicky had in a cup final, by the way. I mean, incredible. What a season she's had, actually. And of course, Kim is Kim. So, of course, you pick her if she's fit. She's in the team. She's Captain Kim, of course. I think the three ahead is going to be quite interesting, isn't it? Obviously, we know Frida Marnham is going to be out of this game. Now, there seems to be good news coming through, isn't there? I mean, Jonas was saying today in his press conference that he's almost thinking that Frida might be available for the Leicester game next week. I'll be amazed if that was the case. If it is, fantastic. But I think it might take Frida longer to be able to play than a couple of weeks. But she's obviously out on Sunday, but it's great news, isn't it? That apparently she's okay. There's no serious heart issue with her. She's just got to go through the correct medical protocols, really, before she can be back up and playing again. But that's great news, isn't it? It was such a shock on the day, wasn't it? That game. I mean, anyone that was there would have the shock that we all felt really when we saw it and what had happened, and it was awful. So it's great news, isn't it, that apparently she's going to be okay and she'll be playing again. Whether it is next week, we'll have to wait and see. But she definitely won't be playing on Sunday. So there's that number 10 position up for grabs, isn't it? Now, for me, I would put Lessi there in that number 10, and then either side of her, I think Chloe Lacasse has got to play on the left. I thought Caitlin Ford was brilliant in the cup final, by the way, when she came on. She was fantastic, wasn't she? Set up the goal, set up some other opportunities as well. She was brilliant, but I thought Chloe Lacasse before she went off was brilliant as well. I would stick with Chloe. On the right-hand side is interesting, isn't it? Because we said Beth hasn't been at her best. There's no doubt about it. As much as it pains us all to say it, she hasn't been at her best. And is this maybe the game to maybe change her? I suppose you could put Chloe on the right, Caitlin Ford on the left. Maybe that's the way, with Leslie in the number 10. And then obviously Stina is going to start for me as a centre forward, not only for her contribution to the cup final, which was amazing, but just she deserves it. You know, she's started to start a lot more games recently. If you look at it, 3 or 4, I think she started 3 of the last 4 games, when before that she hardly started any. So she has worked her way back into the starting lineup. And I think with Frida being out, I think it's much more likely that Leslie will play slightly deeper with Stina in front of her. And I think that works well. So I'll be happy with that. It's just, does Beth play on the right? Does Chloe play on the right? Does Katie McKay play on the right? And obviously on the left, is it Caitlin or is it Chloe Lacasse? They're the choices, aren't they, for me? The rest of the team almost picks itself for me. Don't make too many silly changes, even though it's Bristol City. Make substitutions during the game. Get Kyra Cooney cross on, of course. We want to see all these players playing, but give Laura Wainwright a run out maybe on Sunday if the game allows it, because she's been on the bench the last few games, not managed to get on. So it'd be nice to see her back, won't it? Even if she plays 10 minutes at the end, it'd be great, wouldn't it? So, but that'll be my starting lineup. It's don't make too many changes. Obviously, we know Frida's going to have to be replaced, unless it's the obvious choice, because she replaced her in the final, and I think that made a difference to our attacking play during that and enabled us to win. But we shall see. Jim says I was there at the Conti final, and Frida, bless her, just fell down, and then all the Chelsea fans was chanting while she was down on the floor with the whole stadium. So yeah, I mean, not straight away there wasn't. I mean, it was a shock, and it was quite an eerie atmosphere, wasn't it? Because it did go really quiet, understandably so. I mean, I think everyone was just shocked. I mean, I actually saw her fall down. It was off the ball, but funnily enough, for some reason, I'd noticed just a fraction of a second before her, she had kind of made a run forward, which is why she was in that advanced position. She'd made a run forward, and I think we'd lost the ball, and it got cleared away. And normally what Frida would do is she would turn around the other way and start running back, and she didn't. She kind of stood still, and then she fell over and collapsed. And it was like, wow. It was, and then, like you said, everybody kind of realized what had happened. And the ground, it's strange, isn't it? There's like all those people in the ground, and you almost can't hear anything. And it's such a strange, it almost went cold, didn't it? Like the air seemed to go cold as well. It was really horrible. And yeah, there were a few Chelsea fans a bit later on were chanting and stuff like that. And maybe they were trying to, I don't know, ease the tension in the stadium or whatever it is. I don't know. I can understand that some people felt that was disrespectful. And yes, I suppose it was. Yeah, it probably was. I don't necessarily think they meant it in a bad way. It wasn't all the Chelsea fans. It was a few behind the goal at the other end, wasn't it? And maybe they were just trying to, I don't know, make the situation seem a little bit more normal. I don't know. We don't know their reasons behind it all, do we? But yeah, I can understand why it didn't look great, did it? And no one was very happy about it at the time, obviously. And yeah, they maybe shouldn't have done that, perhaps. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, really. You know, I think most people showed a massive amount of respect for what was happening. Really, I mean, you know, I've never experienced anyone actually live in a stadium before. I've been to thousands of games, hundreds and thousands of games in my life at all different levels of football. Never seen it happen before, and it's just you don't really know what to do. And I think it's obviously worse when it's your player that you've obviously got a lot of affection for because she's your player. You've watched her play for years, and you've seen loads of games, and you really like respect her as a player. And to see one of your players happen to it is 10 times worse than it would be seeing. It'd be bad enough seeing an opposition player happen to, but to see actually one of your players, I can't describe how it made me feel. Really, it was horrible. And I think that I was obviously doing a vlog of the game. I don't know whether you guys have seen it, but I didn't want to film too much of it. It just didn't seem the right thing to do. So I didn't really. There's obviously bits of it on the video. Of course there is. It's part of what happened. I can't leave it out completely. But I didn't really film too much of it. But I've looked back I've watched the vlog back. I didn't really realise at the time because you're just filming and you're involved in it and it's going on. But I look back on it and you can kind of see the emotions there. That's how I felt at the time. And, that's the way it is. And you can't control that. And it was really, really emotional. I've never felt that emotional really at football before. And yeah, it was horrible. But, the good news is it seems as though Frida's okay. And that's the only thing that matters, really. And it doesn't even matter too much to me if she plays football again or not. Obviously, it'd be great if she can, and she can reach the same level she was at before. But to me, the most important thing is that she's okay. That's all that really matters. And that was all that mattered at the time. And we were all desperate to hear some news about it. Yes, eventually we got into the game again in extra time. Of course we did. And we got all excited when we scored and we won the game. It was brilliant. But ultimately we were all desperate to find out some more information what was going on, and luckily we found out quite quickly that she was stable, talking, awake, and everything else, which was great. So but yeah, it was a really, really unbelievable situation, really, wasn't it? It's not something that I want to ever experience again at football. It's horrible, and I say thank God that Frida is apparently okay, and if she plays again it'll be fantastic. I can't wait to see her play. But yeah, it was horrible. And yeah, I want to give Chelsea fans the benefit of the doubt a little bit, because I don't think people would be that cruel or heartless to do it in a nasty way. It wasn't straight away, was it? It was when, the stretcher had been on the pitch. Obviously there was a big long hold up in the game, and it wasn't straight away, was it? It was 5 or 10 minutes in and they started doing it. And maybe it was just to try to ease the tension. I don't know. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. I don't believe anybody would be that heartless to just do it out of like lack of respect for what had happened. I don't believe that's what the situation was. They're up the other end of the pitch to where we were, so I don't know. But I would like to believe that was a reason. But yeah, it wasn't great, was it? At the time, it didn't go down particularly well with us, of course not. But I think looking back on it now, maybe I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, which I don't normally do for Chelsea fans, but I'm prepared to on this particular occasion, just because I think we're all shocked, and I don't think anyone really knows what to do. You don't really know what to do, do you? In those situations, it's like what you're supposed to do. You're just shocked, and you can't. I couldn't really concentrate on the game for a while after that. And extra time started. It took me 5 minutes, maybe 10 minutes, to really start realizing actually I want us to win this game even more now. You know what I mean? So yeah, it was tough, and I don't want to criticize anybody's reaction to that, because it's not something probably everyone in the stadium that day probably never experienced that before. So I can't criticize anybody for how they chose to react. I reacted I didn't think about it. You just react how you react to what you see, and that was it. But I wouldn't criticize anybody for how they reacted to that, because everyone's different and you don't know how people feel about stuff like that. It's tough, isn't it? So I don't want to necessarily criticize them for what they did, but Anyway, Greg says he's got to play Lessi and Stina together with Russo's hold-up play and Stina's speed. We look a lot, but exactly, yeah, those two link up so well. Even in the final, didn't they? In extra time when Lessi put the ball through at Stina before she scored, and she fired it over the bar. It's like that's how they link up well. They in that Aston Villa game in the semi-final, I think Lessi set up 2 of Stina's hat-trick goals, didn't she? And they do link up so well. He's got to do it. If he had done it, I'm convinced if he had done it earlier in the season, we would still be really in that title race now. I believe we would be if he had done that earlier in the season. If Jonas had thought about that more, worked on it more in training, Leslie behind. I think he was more thinking that Viv was going to be taking that number 10 position. So maybe he didn't want to play Russo there because he thought that Viv would be playing it. But as soon as Viv has been out, and whether she'll play again this season, we're not sure. She was in the training pictures from this week, so maybe she might feature at some point. But now it's like he's got to do that. It's obvious. It's our best team, isn't it? He's got to do it. Greg says, now we've won the cup again. No one seems to be calling for Jonas. No, of course not. And you wouldn't, would you? Let's be honest. I mean, I think we've all had question marks over Jonas. Certainly at points this season, some of the team selection, some of his reluctance to make the necessary changes that we felt were necessary, some of the result inconsistency that we've had. But I don't know. I do feel, and I said this after the final when we were walking back to the car, I was doing a bit of filming, and I do feel as though there's a few extenuating circumstances this season for Jonas. So I'm prepared to give him the benefit of the doubt for. I think one is, as we mentioned before, we've had Beth, Viv and Leah pretty much written off this season. They were never, ever going to be at their best. 3 of our best, most important players. And I don't think we can underestimate the impact that that's had on the team. You know, a fully fit and on form Beth, Leah and Viv, we're a different team. We wouldn't have lost those games that we've lost. And that wasn't the situation because of what happened last season. And we have to, that is to me an extenuating circumstance for Jonas. And I think the other point of it is we've got new players. Emily Fox, I want to give Leah Cadena actually a massive shout out because she was brilliant in the final when she came on at half time. Difficult circumstances to come on in a game at half time in a cup final to play at the back. She was brilliant. So she's going to be, she's in the squad there. Kyra, what a brilliant signing she's been. What a great addition to the squad she is. And of course, Lessi, as we know, what an impact she's had this season on the transformed a lot of the way that we play. But these things take time. And I think when all those players have settled completely, and obviously Emily is going to take a little bit longer because she's only just come into the team. And I do feel as though Leah Cadena's not played that much. She needs a bit more time. Cara Cooney-Cross has been her development season, a bit like Vicky last season. And I think this next season, Cara could really come into her own. So, you know, I think that all those things together, I think next season should be a lot better. I think the consistency should be better next season. I think the squad would have had a year together. We're bound to bring in some new players in the summer. Everyone does. I expect a new goalkeeper. Hopefully it's Daphne Van Domselaar. But if it's Mary Earps, we'll accept Mary Earps. Of course we will. So I think we'll bring a new goalkeeper in, which I think will help some of the daft goals we've given away. And yeah, I think we'll bring 1 or 2 other players in as well. I think we need maybe another left back as cover, potentially right back, maybe. Depends how fit Laura's going to be. But yeah, let's see. I think next season, this team's going to really gel. I think next season, when Chelsea are going to be in transition next season as well, let's not forget, without Emma. So yeah, I'm looking forward to next season. I think that could be the way forward. Greg says there, wait till we've got a fully fit squad will be our. So exactly, well, not even so much a fully fit squad, more when this squad's had the real chance to really gel together. They've had this season to do it. Yes, we're going to get players back fitter for next season. Yeah, I agree. I think next season we are going to be a hell of a lot stronger next season. And I think sitting here right now, and yeah, maybe the euphoria of winning a cup is still there a little bit, but I think next season we are going to win the league. I really do. I think next season's our season to do it. Chelsea are going to take a year at least to adapt to the new manager. There's going to be players that's played under Emma for such a long time, and suddenly there'll be new methods, new people. And I don't know, I think they might struggle to find their consistency next season, Chelsea. They've not been massively brilliant this season, but they've managed to find a way to win the games. Maybe next season they're going to find it more difficult. And I think next season's our chance. Greg says, Stina's contract is coming up soon. Hopefully she'll stay. Yeah, I think that's a big one for me. you do everything you can to keep your top scorer, don't you? You have to. Stina's so important to this team, to this squad, so important. And I think if she was to leave, I think we'd all know one of the reasons why she won't re-sign is because of game time. You'd have to blame Jonas for that. And we would then need to go out and buy another goal scoring player, wouldn't we? They're not easy to find. We've got one of the best that there is, honestly. I think Stina is one of the best that there is out there. I said that when we signed her. When we signed her, I'd seen her obviously play for Sweden quite a bit. I'd always rated her as a player. I know she was a goal scorer, and I thought she was a fantastic signing at the time. And she's not for me. She's not disappointed. I think she's been brilliant for us. And if she doesn't sign a contract and she leaves at the end of the season, we are going to massively find it difficult to replace her. Yes, Lessi can play as a centre forward more than if that's the case. He may well be forced. If Viv's fit, Viv playing just behind Lessi is not going to be bad, is it? Let's be honest. But Lessi isn't Stina. Lessi's strengths are not the same as Stina. And Stina offers that running in behind that no one else in the squad does. And I think we'll need to replace that if we lose her. So it's massively important that she signs. It is. And hopefully she doesn't seem necessarily unhappy, does she? She seems to be, she works so hard for the team when she plays. It's incredible. And she seems to enjoying playing. So hopefully there's enough there. Obviously we know how close she is to Frida and Amanda, one or two of the other players as well. So I do think that's important. I think that matters more in women's football than it does in men's football. Again, it comes down to differences between men and women. I think women are a little bit more emotional, whereas men are a little bit more logical. A men's player would maybe leave a team. He's got mates there, but he'll leave a team for different reasons. Whereas women are more likely to stay at a club if they feel happy and they've got friends there. That's the way women tend to look at things. They don't have the agents influencing so much either, do they? Trying to get them to move for more money. So I think Stina may well stay. I don't think she'll take a lot of convincing. Obviously, game time is going to be the crucial thing, isn't it? Is she going to play enough games next season? I think she will. And Jonas has got to convince her. Obviously, Jonas knows her well anyway. So I do think she will sign. But if she doesn't, I think that's a problem. And I think that's something Jonas will have to look at. We'll have to sign a replacement. Absolutely, we will. So, yeah, that's something we need to look at, don't we? But we'll see. I think what happens with Viv could be important as well. I still got this nagging thing in my mind that Viv might retire at the end of the season. I really think she might. I don't know. I've just got this thing in my head that's telling me this. But we'll see. But let's see. Let's wait and see. Yeah, the Stina one's a big one for me because, we don't want her to go. And let's hope that, scoring in 2 cup finals in a row, 2 winners' medals. Is that not enough to make you stay? She still plays a lot of games. Do you know what I mean? She still does. And I think she'll stay. Greg says not many women leave once they sign for us. No, exactly. No, they don't. Or they don't leave of their own accord. Sometimes I think pushed out's maybe the wrong word, but you've got players like Jordan Nobbs, for example, who left. I don't think she would have stayed. She wasn't getting enough game time, and in the end, she felt she had no choice. But yeah, you're right. Not many of them do leave Arsenal because it's such a great place to be, isn't it? You can clearly see it, and hopefully that's enough to convince Stina to sign a new contract and maybe finish her top-level career at Arsenal. I'd love to see that because I think, I've not made any secret of how much I absolutely love Stina. I think she's fantastic, honestly. I love watching her play. I think she's so exciting to watch, and it was great that it was her that got the winner in the final. That was just, for me, that just made it even better. I wouldn't have cared who scored; wouldn't have mattered. But the fact it was Stina made it even better, even sweeter because I've been pushing. We have on the channel for her to be getting more game time this season, starting more games. And the fact that she came out with that winning goal was just brilliant. So, yeah, hopefully you're right. I agree. Not many women do leave when they sign for Arsenal. And hopefully Stina will stay. She looks happy, despite she's looked frustrated at times. You get that. But of course you do. Every player wants to play every game, don't they? But to me, she seems happy at Arsenal. Every time she's spoke, she doesn't speak much in the press. She's not a big interview giver, is she? But she seems happy, and I think she will stay. And I'm obviously got my fingers crossed. It'll be sad. I'll be really sad if she leaves. I might even cry live on a show if she leaves. But hopefully she'll stay. Now we've got Andreas is going to give his team lineup and his score prediction actually as well. So we don't want to miss that, do we?
For the lineup, what do I expect? I think I hope that all the girls come back without injuries. And then Manu in goal. Yeah, she had a good match against Chelsea in Conti Cup final. Yes, I have to say this. The defense will be, I think, Emily, who was fantastic against Chelsea. Lotte, same. Leah, she captained the Lionesses after a year again and had a good match against Ireland. Maybe Katie or Steph. Let's see. In midfield, I would give Kyra a chance as number 6 as Wally is out. And Kyra had another good performance for Australia, as I read. Of course, Kim, if she's fit, she has to play, our captain. And Vic, I read that she had a small issue or a small injury, but then 2 or 3 days later she played again for the Netherlands, so she should be ready to play for us too. And in the attacking line, maybe Caitlin. Stina scored the winner against Chelsea. You can't drop her. And Chloe, I would give Beth a rest. She has played so much, and on the other side, Bristol would be a match to try the Lessi and Stina combo. If not against Bristol, against which other team does he want to test this? They are working fantastic together. So if I had to make the lineup, then Lessi would be number 10 for me and Stina number 9. Let's see. Yeah, maybe Katie also should get a rest. She's playing all the time, and of course she got her yellow card. I think it lasted until stoppage time until she got it, but she got it. My goal prediction, okay, it's 3-1 as in group stage. As I said, I don't expect some firework and lots of goals. It will be difficult to break their defense, but in the end, we'll manage it, and with the 3-1, we would get the 3 points, and that's all that counts. Let's hope the best for Sunday, and if you see me at Meadow Park, just say hi. I'm there. Thanks. Bye.
Yeah, if you see Andreas on Sunday at Meadow Park, do say hello. He loves to meet you all. But yeah, I mean, obviously Andreas has gone for a 3-1. He's been a bit conservative, haven't he, in his score predictions this season? Actually, it's been difficult to get a big win out of him, hasn't it? In fact, I don't think we've managed to get a big prediction out of him yet, have we, this season? I'm not quite sure why, but anyway, I've always said the same thing. I don't care if we win 1-0 or we win 10-0. Win the game. That's ultimately all that matters. Yes, our goal difference has been poor compared to the teams around us this season, hasn't it? We can see that quite clearly, and it would be nice, wouldn't it, to get a few bigger wins in the games that remain. It'd be nice to do that, wouldn't it? And I to be honest with you, I do think this game is going to be a battle, and I do think we're going to have to work hard and be patient. But I think in the end, I think we will have too much quality, and I do think Bristol City will maybe run out of legs in the closing stages, and I think we'll get the job done. It might be a bit of a struggle, but I think we will do it. And Greg says, why does Andreas always give a half-time score? Well, that's just, I say he's a bit conservative this season, hasn't he? I think maybe he's felt that he's given too many wrong predictions in the past, so he's been a bit conservative. But I think this is a game where we will ultimately win comfortably, but I think it's going to be hard work to get to that point, if you see what I mean. We're not going to necessarily win 8-7, 8-0, and it's going to be easy. I do think the final score, I am going to be quite optimistic. I'm going to go 5-0, but I don't think it's going to be a 5-0 game as it seems. I think it's going to be difficult for a while. It might only be maybe 1-0 at half time. And I think Bristol will make it difficult for us. But I think in the end, I think our quality will show through. I think our extra level of fitness will show through. And I think Bristol City will run out of legs in the end. And I think we'll be clinical in our chances. And I think we'll maybe get 2 or 3 goals in the last 5-10 minutes to make the scoreline a lot more comfortable than maybe reflects the whole game. But I do think we will win 5-0. And yeah, it'll be good. Of course, it will. It'll be great to see the team back in action again, won't it? Because it's been a long 2 weeks since that cup final, so it'd be nice to see the team again. And yeah, I'm hoping and looking forward to a good performance. And yeah, I'm going to go 5-0. Be optimistic. Maybe I've been listening to Terry too much. So maybe I don't know, but I'm going 5-0. So yeah, we'll see how that works out. But yeah, if Andreas is right and it's 3-1, I won't care. I'll be happy enough that we've won the game and scored a couple of goals, which is nice. I mean, Andreas's team selection there wasn't too much different, was it? Really, I mean, every time he seems to want to, he picks Kyra Cooney-Cross, doesn't he? He loves Kyra, and we all do. But I just think that you can't really break that Kim Little, Vicky Pelova kind of thing in midfield, and that only really leaves one ahead, which would have to be Lessi Russo for me, if obviously we've freed her out of the team. So I don't know where Kyra fits into that starting lineup. Yes, you could leave Kim out. Why would you want to do that? But you could leave Kim out and play Kyra and Vicky, who earlier in the season played well together. You could leave Vicky out and put Kyra in. Why would you leave Vicky out? Because to me, she's been our player of the season so far. So I would stick with that personally. Kyra off the bench. But I've got nothing against Kyra. I think she's brilliant. But yeah, maybe at this moment in time, I think we'll see a lot more of her next season, playing more regularly. But I think this season's a transition season, breaking through, isn't it? And she's done well. She's a great player. But yeah, I will stick with that. So that's the only real argument I've got with Andreas's team, really. But, he wants to see Kyra in the team, and why not? So as long as we win the game, I'm not bothered. As long as we win the game, and I'm sure we will. So there we go then. That has been a slightly different show for you this week. Obviously, with Andreas unable to make it live in the studio. Emma is working, of course, so we've not been able to. I've had to hold the fort on my own, but I've had you guys in the chat for company, which has been great. So thank you for your comments as well. Thanks for joining us. I still don't really know what this means. If anybody can shed some light onto that, please do so. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. It's been great. I am back, of course, on Sunday. Now, I'm going to be quite busy on Sunday because Arsenal men are playing at 4:30. So I'll be live at 4:15 for that one, which is going to be good. And straight after that game's finished, we'll be going on to the other stream for the women's game against Aston Villa, which kicks against Bristol City, which kicks off at 6:45. So we'll try and go live about 6:30 for that one. Depends on the injury time in the men's game and whatever. It's going to be about 7 o'clock for about 10 minutes. I'm going to have to leave the women's stream because I am going on to Talk TV to talk about the Arsenal Aston Villa game. But I'll keep something going to keep you entertained for that 10 minutes or so that I'm off, and hopefully there'll be no goals, and then I'll be back to the rest of it. But join me on Sunday, which is going to be good. It's going to be a big day, isn't it? Sunday. Obviously the men's game so important now, isn't it? How we bounce back from the Bayern Munich performance, which wasn't fantastic, as we know, and Emery's got a point to prove, so that won't be easy. But of course they're coming in off a Thursday night European game, so we've had a bit more rest for that one, so who knows. But yeah, so join me on Sunday because that's going to be good. 2 massive games. We want 2 big Arsenal victories, don't we? Which will be great. So join me for all that. Of course, next week we've got the second leg of the Bayern Munich game away in Germany on Wednesday. That is going to be a nervy night. Let's be honest, it's going to be a nervy night. So join me for that one as well. And of course, next weekend again, there's big games, isn't there? Arsenal, of course, playing Leicester at the Emirates next Sunday. The women, that is going to be a big game, isn't it? The men's game is. They're not playing Sunday as well, are they? Or is that the Saturday game? I think that's a Saturday game. I'm getting confused with all the games. There's so many games. I'm losing track of it all. So let's just double check. So, of course, it's Saturday 7:30, isn't it? Wolves away. That's obviously next week. So yeah, and obviously the women then play on the Sunday. So next weekend the games are spread out over 2 days. So we've got all that to come. So loads of great stuff for you. We may throw in 1 or 2 other little bits and bobs for you in the meantime as well. So do join us for that. Greg says, great show as always. The best start to the weekend. I can let the missus out of her cage. Yeah, just let her out of the cage to make you a cup of tea. That's what you need to do, quite honestly, because it's about a cup of tea time, isn't it? I'm going to go and have my cup of tea now. So join me on Sunday. It's going to be good. Thank you to all you guys for watching. Thank you to your comments, especially for Greg, who a lot of great comments. comments as always, and everybody else as well that contributed. Laura as well. Yeah, join us on the show next week, Laura, if you're still here. And Andreas will be able to go throughout to get into the Germany supporters club because he'll know all about that. So definitely pop in there. So yeah, thank you to Andreas, of course, for his videos tonight that he put together for us. So that's always great. And hopefully he'll be back next Friday. Back live. He should be back live in the studio next Friday, and Amar as well, hopefully as well. So we'll have a proper show for you next week. So please join us for that. I will, of course, see you on Sunday. It's another big week for Arsenal, another big weekend for Arsenal. Wow, it's getting exciting now, isn't it? We've won one cup, as you can see behind me. Are we going to? Is the club going to be lifting some more cups this season? Who knows? Well, we're going to find out in the next few weeks, aren't we? It's exciting. Stay with us here because we've got it all covered for you, and we're going to be excited, I'm sure. So it's been the Arsenal Women's Show. The weekend officially starts now, so enjoy the rest of your Friday night. Enjoy whatever you're doing tomorrow. And join us on Sunday for 2 games, 2 big Arsenal games, 2 big watch-alongs. Join us for that. Thanks for watching, guys. Take it easy. Come on, you Gunners. And I will see you on Sunday.